I see you. I see you. I can always see you. China's disturbing life swap reality show. We're starting it off with Wani. And again, like everything that happens in one nation happens in every other nation. Whether it's crime, whether it's body dysmorphia, whether it's like chasing the strange influencer ideal body type, whatever it may be, it happens everywhere in the world. Every nation, no nation is not victim to it. What's the correct way to say that? But whatever. This is Wani, China's disturbing life swap reality show.
Imagine if you get to swap lives with one person of your choice for 7 days. Maybe you live the life of a luxury celebrity, or even better, the son of a Chinese millionaire who gets an allowance of a property a month. But there's a catch. After the 7 days, prepare to have your entire life ruined. This is one of China's most disturbing reality shows ever produced, Metamorphosis. And trust me, for a lot of these participants, the only thing that transformed was their trauma. Back in 2006, Hunan TV launched a brand new life swap show called Metamorphosis, and it immediately blew up. The concept was simple. Take one teenager from a rich city family and...
Well, the funny thing is this concept has been done everywhere. Has been done everywhere. Oh, hello from India. Hello from India. This concept is done all the time. All the freaking time. You take someone from the impoverished area and then you put them in a rich neighborhood. Like you take someone from trailer trash and then you put them in the rich and uppy ending, well, Hollywood celebrity child. You just swap their dynamics. It happens everywhere. Every place basically has this kind of reality show because there's something about watching it and just seeing it play out that's insane. It's insane.
Take another teenager from a poor rural village. Swap their lives for 7 days and see what happens. The rich kids were spoiled, yelled at their parents, and didn't attend school. The show was supposed to show these rich city kids what hardship really looked like. Meanwhile, the poor rural kids would get to experience city life, broaden their horizons, and get motivated to chase bigger dreams. Pretty inspirational. At least that's what everyone watching at home thought. Because the deeper you dig into this rabbit hole, the weirder it gets. Former contestants started exposing the producers for threatening and kidnapping them. They even said that they were being manipulated behind the cameras, and these people that they were supposedly helping, instead, when they went back home, it completely ruined their life. But how did it even come to this? I mean, at first, it was actually like...
Well, because again, everything goes back to the people who feel superior. Sure, you can live your life in the shoes of someone who's inferior to you, but guess what? You are superior. So even though you can see how hard their life is, you're the superior one. That goes to like whatever kind of mindset you want to put to it, caste or whatever. Because in the end, everyone in the world likes to see themselves as superior to someone else. That's just how it is. Why do I have a dog and cat? Because I can feel superior to the dog and cat. Even though, I mean, sometimes I don't feel as such. I don't feel as such. Because my wife will grab the cat and give him kisses, and I'm like, what about my kisses? I can't move. But it's fine. It's fine. It's just sometimes everything like that. But it's like there's a reason. There's a feeling of being superior to other people that is instilled, baked into our DNA. Baked into our DNA. In the end, sure, you can feel sympathy or empathetic or whatever word you want to put towards another group of people. But the thing is, it's another group of people. They aren't you. They aren't your own. And again, I'm someone who's like, I don't care if something happens across the world because it doesn't impact me. If it starts impacting me, then it becomes a problem. But at least I'm honest about it. I don't like the people who pretend like they care about everything and then they make a statement of it. They try to be all, oh, you know what? I'm doing this. Okay. Since it's going on right now, I am fasting in order to expose this nonsense. That fasting is nothing but to gain the limelight for yourself. Gandhi's done it. Like so many people do that kind of thing where they try to hurt themselves to bring light to something else. That does nothing. That does nothing for nobody except to make you the main character of another situation. That's not right. That's not right.
Like a wholesome and educational program. The very first episode aired and it ended up becoming viral. It paired a teenager named Wei Cheng from the city of Changsha and a rural boy named Gao Jianxi from a poor village. Now these two couldn't have been more different if you tried. Wei Cheng constantly skipped school. Most of his days were spent inside internet cafes instead of paying attention in class. He had a comfortable life in the city, but he completely took it for granted. Then there's Gao, and this kid lived in an incredibly poor village. Unlike Wei Cheng, his dream wasn't becoming famous or making tons of money. All Gao wanted was just a regular education so that he could escape poverty. And right away, you could see how good this pairing worked for the show. You have one kid with a bunch of opportunities, all wasted. Then the other kid would do anything to have the same opportunities. And the plot started cooking. Wei Cheng arrived at Gao's village, and the parents had to treat him as if he was their child for the week. And this is where the reality of the rural life hit him like a truck. Something as basic as getting water was not simple at all. They literally had to wait 3 hours for the water to seep back into the well so that they could fill the bucket to drink. Meanwhile, nowadays, people are losing their minds because their Molly tea is taking more than 5 minutes to make. I'm talking to you, Kevin. And one day, Gao's father pulled out a small bundle of crumpled bills. Just 20 yuan. Now, 20 yuan isn't a lot for the city, but to this family, it was years of saving. Wei Cheng immediately refused the money, but Gao's father would not take no for an answer. He looked at Wei Cheng and simply told him, "For these 7 days, you are my son." And Wei Cheng completely broke down, because even later in his diary, he wrote that holding those 20 yuan felt like his heart was bleeding. And honestly, probably for the first time in his whole life, did he actually understand what money meant. Meanwhile, Gao was in the city living a completely different experience. He arrived in Changsha, and immediately he looked like he was someone who just landed on a different planet. I mean, looking outside, there were towering buildings, crowded streets. Everything was so different compared to the small village he grew up in. And the scene that made this show go viral was during Gao's first car ride into the city, he looked outside the window and just started crying. This really hit netizens in the feels because Gao has never seen anything like this. I mean, he doesn't even know these things existed. And the contrast between these two lives were so massive that audiences...
The people who live in certain, like, again, there are people who have never left their block. People in the United States of America who have never left, like, their living block. They go grocery shopping at the local convenience store. They don't go down to the supermarket. No, they just go to the local convenience store and buy what's there. They just walk down the block. There are people like that who have never traveled far and beyond, and everything they see on TV is fictional. Or like they just for some reason can easily detach it from reality. Because it's, oh, superheroes, of course. Oh, violence, of course. Because it doesn't involve their small little world. That for them, it would be a shocker to travel out and see exactly how big the world is. There are a lot of people like that. Even in like the blessed nation of the United States of America, there are people like that. I mean, my abuela and abuela, after traveling to the US and basically setting a home in the US, my abuela never left the house. Never left the house until the day she got on hospice. And then she was in the hospital. That was it. She was in the house. She never really traveled out and did anything. A lot of people are like that. Hi, Jack.
Could not stop tearing up. By the end of the week, Wei Cheng was a completely different person. He voluntarily worked on a farm just to earn 20 yuan so he could repay Gao's father. He also kneeled down in front of Gao's parents and thanked them for everything that they'd done for him. And people absolutely ate this up because it became one of the greatest redemption arcs that people had ever seen. Just like that, Metamorphosis became one of the biggest reality shows in all of China. But here's the thing. Once the show became successful, it turned into the exact same formula. The city kid would always be this rebellious, spoiled teenager. They'd swap lives, get dropped into the countryside, and start complaining, breaking things. Meanwhile, the poor rural kid was almost always portrayed the exact same way. Hardworking, polite, and extremely poor, like to the point where they didn't even know what a shopping mall was. And by the end, the rich city kid would become grateful, and the poor rural kid would be inspired to chase bigger dreams. When this first season came out, it really was an educational program. Like, the transformations were completely real. Nothing was really faked. But people started noticing something that didn't quite add up. You're telling me that years of bad parenting, family problems, and behavioral issues were all solved in just 7 days because the kid carried a bucket of water up a mountain? Something fell off, and eventually people realized that they've been watching the most evil and manipulative show in all of China. Because the biggest controversy of Metamorphosis came during season 7. They paired two kids whose lives were extremely different compared to the other seasons. On one side, you had the rich, spoiled city kid, Shin, and on the other, the poor rural kid, Wang. Let's start with Shin first, because this guy was known as the most difficult protagonist to change in the history of Metamorphosis. Like, already you could tell what they're doing. They're building a villain. Shin was 16 years old when he joined the show, and he already dropped out of school. Like, he constantly smoked, partied, and went clubbing. Whenever he ran out of money, he would just sneak into his mother's meetings when she was busy and just steal cash from her bag. He would also constantly threaten to sell one of his kidneys if his mother didn't give him money. Now, that's definitely one way to negotiate an allowance. His mother—
I mean, if it works. If it works. If your kidney can sell for a lot, you might as well. You might as well.
owned a hotel, and they belonged in China's upper class of private business owners. Like, it's almost impressive how good of a contestant he is for the show. But when Shin first heard about metamorphosis, he didn't see it as some educational, life-changing experience that will make him more grateful. Usually it's the parents who send the kids to the show, but Shin volunteered for it. His first thought wasn't, maybe this will make me a better person. It was, if I go on the show, won't I become a celebrity? He told his mother that studying...
See, he's the type that won't change. And I'm curious, because that's the thing. It's just like, how many of these people's lives have actually changed? The show is making money, making bank off of the impoverished people. The people who are rich and wealthy will continue to make money. How do the poor income families make money off of this? Probably don't. They probably don't. If anything, it's the people who are put in the limelight, because sometimes there are like GoFundMes that start up. I don't know if China has things like that for those families that feel wronged, or just to kind of seek some kind of financial gain from putting your family's life out there for the rest of China to see. You think there would be some kind of financial gain for the families, because I know you pay the families, but it's just... It's just insane. He literally saw it and was just like, yep, this is the perfect opportunity for me to get famous. I can easily play the system. Because, again, just like 7 days, nobody transitions that quickly. Nobody transitions that quickly, especially when you can see how hard someone else's life is. Maybe you'll be like, you know what? I am blessed. And then go back to living your blessed life. And you won't think again of the family that had the hardship that taught you a lesson that you're actually better off. Because in the end, I've always lived my life like there is always someone worse off. There is always someone worse off. There's a child dying of cancer. Like, I had all my ailments growing up, and I was just like, it was like I was in the hospital. I remember there's a lady whose family wasn't even coming to visit her as she was dying of cancer. And it was just like, you know what? There's always someone that's worse off. There's always someone that's worse off. Sure, I have my situation going on. It sucks. I'm a kid and I'm having to go through all this, but there's always someone that's worse off. And I always had that mindset going in throughout life that it doesn't make me feel superior to others, because I already know I am, because I am white, the superior. joking. But it's just like, it allowed me to have a different mindset going into things. It's just like, you know what? I can take this L here. I can deal with this. This isn't going to be as bad. This isn't like... To the point where when I had my brain surgery, I was just like perfectly fine with it, because I was like, oh, you know what? If the surgery goes wrong, what can I do? What can I do? There's nothing I can do. So I didn't give up, but I was like, you know what? There's always someone worse off. I might as well just live the life to the best of my abilities. Sure, are there stressors? Absolutely. You never get rid of them, especially when you're living below the poverty line. But at the same time, it's just like, most people don't do that. Most people don't see the world as everyone's got an issue. They just don't.
Was pointless, okay? It's useless. What a waste of time, right? He summed fame up into 4 words: easy, entertaining, makes money, and gets worshipped. And this slowly foreshadowed how he approached the swap. Meanwhile, the girl he was swapping with, Wang, her entire family earned less than $1,000 in an entire year. Because while Shin was living life on easy mode, Wang had one of the saddest backstories in the entirety of the show. She lived in a tiny house made of mud in Shaanxi province, and her parents divorced very early on when she was only 3. And instead of growing up with them, she lived with their 70-year-old grandmother and her paralyzed uncle. That was her world, and their daily meals consisted of whatever they could grow that day, either beans or potatoes. And every day it was just survival, day after day. But Wang was incredibly smart and hardworking. She did all the chores by herself, cooked meals, washed clothes, and even looked after her paralyzed uncle. Whenever food was served, she'd quietly give her uncle bigger portions while she just ate less herself. That's the kind of kid she was. Her family genuinely believed that this opportunity would help her, like maybe she'd experience something she'd never seen before, broaden her horizons, and come back with more confidence. Unfortunately, it turned out way worse than expected. And real quick, you know what's wild? The show has been running for years, and somehow the people producing it didn't have to answer anyone. And that's kind of terrifying when you think about it, because how much power gets handed to people who technically shouldn't have any? There's a reason why you don't let unqualified people make decisions that'll affect the rest of your life. Just like why there's a reason why Morgan & Morgan is America's largest injury law firm. They'll fight to get their clients the best results. With over $30 billion recovered for their clients, they know about getting you what you're actually...
You know, why is Morgan & Morgan, like every single YouTuber I watch, they're all talking about Morgan & Morgan. What's going on in the world that everyone needs an attorney? Seriously, what's going on that everyone needs an attorney? Because every single person is talking about Morgan & Morgan.
for sponsoring this video, and let's get back into it. But first, let's go back to Shin's side of the swap, because right when he arrived at the village where Wong lived, her family treated him like an absolute gem. They gave him their best room and even spent days preparing a welcome meal for him using one of the chickens in their farm, which is probably one of the nicest meals that they could ever afford. And Shin's response, he looked at the food. Sorry, if I eat too much, I'm gonna get fat. The room is not being read. Instead of talking with the family, Shin basically wandered around like a tourist. He started writing random things on the ground and started chasing bugs with a broom because he was bored. Then after just a few hours, he immediately went to the director and said, "Can we stop filming?" Over the next day, he had exactly one goal: go home. Like, this man didn't care about changing. Like, he just wanted out. Like, he already regretted it in the first 2 hours. I mean, what is this guy even doing here? He literally just starts emoting on them. He kept sleeping in, he continued smoking, although now he had to settle for cheaper cigarettes because he didn't have any money. I'm surprised that wasn't life-changing. I mean, he was trying to escape and literally fell off the hill and almost obliterated the grandma too. So maybe that was life-changing. Someone asked him what he learned so far. He said, "I was born into a pretty good family," which is probably the most self-aware thing that he'd said in this entire...
I mean, yeah. Yeah, I mean, he's got an objective. He's got an objective. And the sad thing is, like, the more you see, more people like him are in the world now than there are. I don't know what happened. It's like everyone, well, we're all the main characters of our own film. The main character syndrome has gone out of control. We all want to be the most important. We all want to be the one who's the end of everything, you know, the one that everyone looks up to. Everyone wants that. Well, not everyone. There are people who are content where they're at in life. But it's like there's something about that kind of thing that people just... I just don't understand it. I don't understand it. Why not just find contentment in yourself first before you go on and try to influence others? Because I personally feel like you have to have something to put out there. Like, there are so many things, like me and my wife, I enjoy watching like the trash of seeing like what the heck retarded influencers are doing, where they're just so out of touch. It's just like, how are these people influencers when they aren't even understanding what the real issue is, what the real problem is? Live a year in the dirt before you start talking down or start talking up or whatever to others. Just live in someone else's shoes. Work a real job. Because what? There's a TikTok trend where everyone's like, "Oh, I worked at Walmart for a day. I worked at Target for a day." Like, what? That's not you working. That's not you working. That's you creating content for your TikTok that's, guess what, gonna make more money than an employee at Walmart is probably gonna make in a month. In a month. How unattached do you have to be? That kind of stuff is just insane. Now, if they put it like, you know, all the proceeds that I'm making are going to help this family, this lady that I met while working at Walmart, who's, you know, that's a different kind of thing. But they never do that. They never do that because it's all about themselves. It's always about themselves. And the only time I really talk about like what I know is, well, I know what it's like to be married. I know what it's like to, well, not sacrifice. Let's be honest. My wife is the one who made the main sacrifices. She's greater than I am in every single aspect. But I'm able to talk about it. I don't have a problem falling down on the sword being like, yeah, I'm the main issue. I'm the main issue because I'm self-aware. I'm self-aware. Most people aren't. Most people absolutely aren't. Or talk about how, oh, I've never worked a day in my life as a good thing. It's like, no, that's not a good thing. That's not a good thing.
Your episode. And what happened next is where things started getting really weird because the production team decided to just take matters into their own hands. Shin wasn't giving them enough drama. I mean, sure, he complained, he wanted to go home, but that just wasn't enough if you wanted a viral episode. But then we arrive at the scene that became one of the most famous moments in all of Metamorphosis, the furniture smashing incident. Shin was asked to wash somebody's hair because that was one of Wong's responsibilities whenever she was home. He gets annoyed, starts throwing a tantrum, and then just starts breaking and smashing chairs, tables, and everything. And netizens were like, wow, this kid is completely out of control. He needs to be taught a lesson. Except, that's not actually what happened. Because according to Shin, he just casually said that he didn't want to wash someone's hair. Nothing dramatic. And that's when multiple crew members surrounded him and started threatening him. They kept saying things like, if you don't wash your hair, you're never going home. You'll die surrounded by these mountains. Then when it was time to eat, they told him he wasn't allowed to have any food because he wasn't behaving. And if he did start eating, they would either lock him in the cabin or just take the car and leave. I mean, he was pretty much being held captive here. So eventually, he snapped and he started breaking things like smashing furniture. And this is exactly the explosive scene the producers want. Convenient, isn't it?
You think money buys happiness or not? No, absolutely not. Happiness is something you obtain for yourself by seeking contentment in life. Money buys comfort. That's all money buys. Like the but with me and my wife, the only stressor we have is finances because I don't make enough. I don't make enough. And it just is a huge weight. Is a huge weight. We get that out of the way, we'd be great. We'd be great because we're happy together. It's just finances, which are always the problem. And that's the thing. It's just money doesn't buy happiness. It buys comfort. It buys comfort.
Because now the show had a dramatic turning point. Oh no, he destroyed the family furniture. Oh well, I guess now he has to earn money to replace everything he broke. See how that perfectly fits the narrative? Behind the scenes, whenever the production team wanted him to look like a villain, they would constantly provoke him, bully him, irritate him, but whenever they wanted him to look redeemed, they would be so supportive, like, let's go Shin, you're amazing, we're so supportive of you. So after breaking all of that furniture, they kept threatening him, so he had to go search for work to earn enough money to replace it. And almost magically, a coal miner happened to be hiring. It's almost like the redemption arc came to him. So Shin ends up working at the coal mine, and he uses all the money he earned to replace the furniture that he had broke. He sincerely apologizes to Wong's family and actually starts being respectful, like talking to them and helping around the house. For once, he starts showing respect. Alright, roll the emotional piano music. The rich kid has finally turned a new leaf. And Nessens, of course, they absolutely ate it up. They flooded the comments talking about how incredible his transformation was, how inspiring it was, absolutely beautiful. But after the show ended, Shin actually came out exposing even more about the producers. Turns out the scenes where he constantly demanded money from his mother weren't as straightforward as the viewers believed. The producers actually gave him 1,000 yuan every time he stole cash from his mom. These guys weren't just documenting a spoiled teenager, okay? They were directing one. But the consequences obviously don't disappear when the filming ends, because unlike actors, these kids still had to go back to their original lives with the reputation that the show had created for them. Ironically, all this controversy worked in Shin's favor. His arrogant image became his personal brand, and he started getting millions of followers. And he also bragged that he got more girls now because he could confirm that he was rich through the show. No, trust me, babe, I'm rich. Did you watch episode 7? Shin just openly said the show hadn't changed him at all. But you know who it did change? The poor rural girl he swapped with. Unlike Shin, who entered the show already rich, Wong entered a completely different universe. The moment she arrived in the city, she was treated like royalty. Shin's mother treated her like a princess. There's a huge party awaiting for her and a massive cake that she'd probably never even seen before. She started attending school in the city and even stayed in a super nice dorm with her classmates. They welcomed her, shared snacks with her, and just made her feel included, and it was honestly really wholesome. She ate steak every dinner and posed for these luxury photo shoots. I mean, you could literally see her princess dream coming to life. But then, things started changing really quickly, because only a few days in, the show claimed Wong had undergone her own transformation. Except, it wasn't the transformation that her family had hoped for. She slowly started treating everyone's kindness as something she deserved. She started making her friends bring her food. She began using large amounts of shower gel to wash her hands, her feet, and just everything, which is considered a big waste. But you know what won't be a waste? Cheeky soap. So grab it still you while can. We still have soul leveling and chainsaw man going on. Use code WANI to support your boy. Links in the description. Thanks. She also expected classmates to fold her blankets and also forced people to comb her hair for her. She suddenly developed what Chinese Nessens called princess syndrome. And then came the foot washing incident. Wong had started blackmailing a boy from her class and threatened that she would get him suspended if he didn't wash her feet every single morning. Now, once this aired, the internet absolutely exploded. She got flamed and people just hated this girl. She went from being introduced as this hardworking, rural little girl to suddenly becoming one of the most disliked participants in the entire history of Metamorphosis. Nessens called her spoiled, ungrateful, entitled. But guys, this is still a kid, okay? She's not an influencer chasing a Playboy millionaire. Imagine spending your whole life surviving and then somebody comes in and gives you everything that you've never had. Of course.
And then she feels like she's entitled to it. I worked my entire life. And for a child, how old is she? 8, 9, 10? 10 years is a long time. 10 years is a long time. And in your head, even if it was just a year that you had been doing the majority of the labor, you would feel like you're finally getting what is yours. You worked hard for all of this. This is exactly what you worked for. You finally got your lucky break. Karma is real. You know, that kind of stuff. People literally believe that kind of thing. People will literally, especially that because they feel like it's owed them. And then when it finally comes their way, they get, influencer status where they think everyone should capitulate to what they're saying, what they're doing, because of course they're the main character. They're the princess. They're the one that's most important. That they make everyone else suffer the way they originally had suffered originally. It's kind of a not Stockholm syndrome. It's kind of a situation where like you've done all the hardships. You want other people to feel the hardships you went through for forever. And then you end up becoming the villain, especially on a TV show, because you were, being calm, being quiet, doing it because it was your responsibility. Then you go out, you're given everything, and then you start ordering people to do it because, well, you had done it before. It's a different mindset because you're ordering people to do it.
The child is going to enjoy that. I mean, she's a kid. But then the camera stopped rolling, and this is where the reality eventually set in, because The show was over. She had to go home. Not back to the mansion or the shopping malls. Back to reality. And coming back to her village was far from a happy ending. I mean, it was emotional. She spent the whole week living in a comfortable home, taking warm showers, making friends, not having to worry about starving for the night. And then just one day, pack your bags, everyone. Season's over. Let's go home. And you're dropped right back into the exact same life that you left. Except now, you know what you're missing. And that's probably the cruelest thing about this entire show. There's actually a quote that netizens kept using to sum up the rural kid's perspective of this entire show. I could have endured the darkness if I had never seen the sun. Wong started keeping some of the luxury habits that she picked up in the city, things like using shower gel, but they didn't have any in the village. So you know what she did? She asked her grandmother to walk nearly 100 kilometers just to get some. And netizens saw this and immediately went, see, this kid is spoiled. Look, see, they aren't any different from the city kids. They're just as bad. And unfortunately, the criticisms just kept getting worse because she actually started asking her grandmother if she could somehow contact the Shin family again. She wanted to go back to see them and go back to the life that she had just experienced.
Live with them.
But of course, the season's over. And eventually Shin's family stopped responding to her and they even blocked her. It's honestly heartbreaking seeing this because after the episode aired, she became one of the most hated kids in the entire history of the show. But then years later, her uncle came forward and the story completely changed. According to him, a lot of Wong's princess behavior wasn't naturally happening at all. It had been manipulated and manifested into her personality by the producers. That infamous foot washing scene, you know, the scene that pretty much destroyed her entire reputation, her uncle claimed that Wong had actually been asleep and the crew woke her up and instructed her to ask a classmate to wash her feet. So she did. Maybe going to a trusted adult isn't so trustworthy after all. And after the episode aired, people in her own village started gossiping about her. Neighbors pointed fingers and people whispered behind her back about the Wong family. And as she got older, the anxiety became so overwhelming that she rarely wanted to leave the home. She became terrified that people would recognize her. And eventually her uncle had to make the decision to move her to another town so that she could focus on studying. But after everything and developing this so-called princess syndrome, she still took care of her paralyzed uncle. But nobody online cared anymore because once netizens decide you're the villain, good luck changing their minds. Her uncle said that he deeply regretted letting her participate in the show. He said that what had been advertised as an educational opportunity had ultimately become a game for the rich, which perfectly sums up the entire show because, I mean, the rich kids, they get to make all the mistakes they want and people start applauding them and clapping when they become slightly less annoying. Meanwhile, the rural kid has to be perfect from beginning to end. If they show even a little bit of selfishness, they're fried. Almost every major city participant walked away with millions of followers on Douyin and Weibo. Do you guys remember the influencer Abby from a couple videos ago? Yeah, she was in the show. And we all know what mess she ended up in. Lee Hongyi was also a city kid during the 9th season, and he is now a famous actor and influencer with millions of followers after debuting in the show. And during a live stream, he actually exposed the producers and openly talked about the show. They forced the city kids to start breaking things and said that they didn't have to pay for any of it. And if there wasn't enough conflict, they'd intimidate them or threaten them to make more. Now compare that to the poor rural participants. They just quietly disappeared. All of them went back home to their original life, constantly hoping that they could go back.
Because they have nothing, they can go back to nothing. Again, it's always easier when you have something to like, rich people can easily, it's next to impossible for a rich person to be poor. Like, that sounds crazy. That sounds crazy, but it's like next to impossible for a rich person to be poor. Unless they do something absolutely heinous and they have to spend all their money on getting out of the prison system, that is like next to impossible. Well, if they're even going to get charged for it in the first place, let's be honest. But it's like next to impossible. There are loopholes, there are workarounds, there's like things you can do in order to hold on to your wealth. You can invest, because that's the thing, like getting to that certain point of investing to where you're actually set for life is difficult. Like me and my wife are trying to figure out the math and everything to where how much do we do here to where we don't have to be stressed about finances in like 40 years type of thing. That's the kind of thing you need. Like you need money to make money kind of situation. Yeah, and once you have the money coming in, it's easier to keep it coming in. Unless you're gonna blow every single paycheck you ever see on just like, okay, there are a lot of athletes who, they make a ton of money while they're playing a sport. They spend all their money while they're playing the sport, that once they retire from being an athlete, they no longer have that set of income, that you end up seeing them being like a spokesperson or doing like those talk shows with other former athletes, because they no longer have they didn't invest it. Like, it's rare that you actually have players who will drive a beater vehicle and continuously like invest their money so that way they're not set for the time they're playing, they're set for the rest of their life. But even now, I mean, it becomes more difficult, especially this day and age where everyone, again, can become main character. I think it would be easier, especially if these impoverished people, they had access to phones. They could actually start, making content. They could actually start doing things and exposing like the producers. They could start doing all that and gain a bit of a following. Lean into the characters they created or that they were forced to be. And they could make money. Again, it's just like there's always ways of monetizing everything, especially this day and age. Especially this day and age.
To their city family. A lot of them ended up working in factories just to get by every day. On a good note, if you remember Gao, the rural kid from the first season who was crying after looking out the window, he was considered the only kid in the entire show who made it out with a better future. Ironic, because that season is the only season that the producers didn't interfere with. Gao actually left the mountains and successfully entered Hunan Normal University, where he studied military defense. Since then, the show has been cancelled due to the controversy, and ultimately, the city kids were made to become famous, while the rural kids were exploited. So yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in. I love making these videos and bringing you guys along with me in this wild journey. I see your—
Thank you, Wani. Thank you, Wani. That's insane. That's insane. But how much money is enough? It's all a matter of satisfaction and ambition. Yeah, that's why I'm like, money doesn't buy happiness. It buys comfort. It buys comfort. And yes, I would love to be comfortable. I would love to be comfortable. But in the end, I wouldn't sacrifice my comfort for my happiness for comfort. I wouldn't. That'd just be insane. And a lot of people do. A lot of people do. They're willing to sell out everything because, well, they want their comfort. Or they feel so invincible that they can do anything that when it finally falls on their heads, they're lost. They're lost. I mean, you can probably name a ton of influencers who have fallen that rabbit hole where they're like happily in relationships, trying to be a positive to the world, and then all of a sudden, oh, they're cheating. Oh, they're money laundering. Oh, they're scamming their audience. Like there's so many out there that have done things like that. It's crazy. It's crazy. I would be happier in a Mercedes than a Toyota. I would be happy in a Toyota. I seriously would. Especially in the United States, Toyotas are reliable vehicles. Mercedes, not so much. Mercedes are not reliable vehicles. I said it. Mercedes, BMWs, surprisingly, Toyota, which is a foreign-made car as well, are more reliable than those German or whatever made cars. They're more reliable because the cost of repairs are cheaper. And again, because of the situation I'm in, that's what I look at. I'm constantly looking at it, just like, how much would it cost if something went bad for me to repair this vehicle? BMWs are astronomically expensive. Mercedes are astronomically expensive. Toyota, not so much. I would definitely take a Toyota. Yeah, as some said, it's better to cry in BMW than crying homeless. I mean, I don't know. I mean, technically, if you're buying the BMW, when you don't, and a lot of that actually does happen, where, especially in the US, like if you drive down like the impoverished areas, like the ghetto areas, you'll see these beater houses that look like they're falling apart with like, what's a nice vehicle? A Range Rover, a Bronco, a Hummer, like all these really gas guzzlers, really nice vehicles parked right out front of this broken house because they'd rather spend money on the car than they would on actually having a comfortable place to live. But that's kind of the mindset. But yeah, that was crazy. The fact that thing, and that does happen. That's why I hate reality TV, because reality TV, it's not real. Who thinks the Kardashians actually live that kind of lifestyle? Everything they do is for the show. Like, oh, they're going to a supermarket. They've been to a supermarket. They know what a supermarket is, but it's just played up for that kind of stuff. Sure, are people out of touch like that? Absolutely. But who thinks like Judge Judy, all of those cases are real? Or Judge Maybelline, or whatever kind of courtroom drama. Who thinks that wrestling is real? All this stuff is a performative. All this stuff is fake. All this stuff is there just to entertain, just to keep you watching. And it's funny how the first season of that series was the only wholesome one. Does USA really have a neurotic crisis like they show on the TV shows? Neurotic? Yeah, they do. A lot of people are. The main character syndrome is insane. Is absolutely insane. So many people only care about themselves. so many people only care about themselves. But that's how it works. That's how the life is.
You guys got a video? It's so bad.
And don't forget to like and subscribe.
Why is like that?